Hi, everyone. I see a few of you are still getting connected. That's great. So thank you all for joining us this evening for our presentation. It's our first online presentation of the year. So we're so excited to have you here with us. My name is Erin. I'm the Student Recruitment Officer for UBC Engineering, and I work out of the Vancouver campus. And I'll introduce our other speakers here, and then we'll get started with the presentation. Marie, I'll pass it to you.
Thanks, Erin. So I'm Marie Reed. I'm one of the engineering advisors from the UBC Okanagan campus. I also completed a mechanical engineering degree from UBCO. So I'd be happy to share any experience both as an advisor and as an alum of UBCO. And now I'm going to pass it over to Kenna.
So my name is Kenna, and I'm a final year chemical and biological engineering student at UBC. And I think today we're just going to talk a lot about what engineering is all about. And I'll also be sharing my experience as a current student. And before we begin, I would just like to acknowledge that UBC is located on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Musqueam people. So now, what is engineering? You've probably done some math, some physics, I don't know, chemistry, maybe even biology in high school. So based on your experience, maybe can you think about what you think engineers do? What assumptions do you have about engineering? In fact, I think maybe the best way is to think about an engineering creation you see every day, that you interact with every day. In fact, can you guys put it in the chat? Like maybe something, it could be like this Zoom channel. Do you think engineers were a part of that? Could you just put in the chat maybe some things you think engineers were behind? And maybe I'll just put like, oh, there we go. So we have a car. Anyone else? Definitely cars. Phones, yes, yes. So I think people are along the same lines. Yes, robots. Yes, robots. GeForce RTX 3090. Okay. I think you may already know what engineering is all about, even more than me. Buildings, yes. Yeah, so these are all things engineers have or play a role in. Someone mentioned cars, and I'll just say, correct. If you're thinking about driverless cars, Teslas, driverless taxis, engineers have something to do with that. Rockets, engineers have something to do with that. There's even things that you may not think about, like the COVID-19 vaccine, the water you drink, the buildings, like someone mentioned, or even the Diet Coke you have at lunch. But what's interesting is that sometimes people confuse engineering with science. So maybe we should just get that out of the way from the get-go. So when we think of science, I think it's basically like natural and physical sciences, they would focus on like attaining fundamental knowledge about a subject through empirical and often quantitative methods. An engineer's goal, on the other hand, isn't necessarily to discover new scientific principles by observing phenomena, but rather to apply principles attained through scientific research to solve, let's say, real life problems. So for instance, scientists know the human body in and out. Engineers maybe just need some direction as to what knowledge is most relevant, and engineers can then apply that knowledge to mass produce vaccines or create bionic arms as a form of prosthetics. So I'm going to tell you about a story of some students who graduated from UBC. And for instance, at the top left, you can see Shanina, and she studied all about bionic arms as an electrical engineer in the biomedical stream. Now, she did so much more than that, though. So she worked with Moses and Matthew, who you can also see in the picture, and they created this platform. It's an education platform that enables children to access world-class educational tools and resources without an internet connection. Now, today, Shanina, she works at McKinsey, at a top consulting firm, where she works in multidisciplinary teams to advise leaderships of top companies and governments. Now, on the right, you can also see Jessica, who completed autonomous vehicle research in the Advanced Control and Intelligence Systems Lab. After graduation, now Jessica went on to MIT to complete her Master's of Applied Science. Now, she originally thought she would continue her research on, or she would go into autonomous vehicles, that's what she thought. but really she discovered the different research pathway through her passion for teaching students how to code. Now, her degree is now focused on developing an interface for young learners to create conversational agent computer programs that can talk to humans. So now what I mean by this is think of apps that can help people living with hearing difficulties to use Amazon Alexa or like Google Home, for instance. So that's what Jessica is doing, and right now she's doing her PhD. I think the last photo here is Cosmic Medical, and that's another instance where UBC engineers have sort of accepted the call to serve their communities. So Cosmic was formed on the onset of the pandemic, and their goal was just to develop low-cost ventilators that could be used in under-resourced healthcare systems. Today, they have the bubble helmets, which you're looking at right there, and that's actually been put into production. So these are just, so hopefully from listening to these stories, you can observe how everyone's story is pretty different. And in other words, like engineering can take you to many destinations. Now, if you found these stories interesting, you may feel inspired, hopefully, to study engineering. If so, congratulations, because engineering has a lot to offer. For one, you'll be studying a professional degree upon your upon first entry to university. By this, I mean other programs often require a graduate degree before you go into the workforce, but not engineering. You typically complete the engineering program in 4 years, and upon graduation, you're fully equipped to join the workforce. That said, you're equally equipped to go on to other graduate studies, such as or professional degrees like law or medicine. But if you do decide to go into the workforce, you will start off as an engineering training, and you'll be compensated properly for your contributions. And after 4 years of work experience as an EIT, you can then move on to become a professional engineer. Now, with the many ways you can see like your engineering degree can, or your career in fact, could go, UBC Engineering ensures that students are well supported so they can navigate their interests. For instance, we have an undergraduate society which organizes events throughout the year and provides a space for you to connect with your peers and seniors who can talk about their journeys. Beyond the society, we also have programs that enable minorities to find community and navigate engineering through a more familiar lens. For instance, we have programs for the LGBTQ community, for Black students, for women in engineering, Indigenous students, and several others. Now, the community within engineering is pretty strong, and maybe that's just because of how rigorous engineering can be. Not to scare you, but we often bond, we bond with each other by struggling over difficult assignments, exams. But that said, I can testify that that is in fact how lifelong friends are made. But now, still on community, there are many ways you can find your crew at UBC. Now, it's such a big university, but there are over 30 design teams that can enable you to work in teams, explore your interests, and gain hands-on experience from your very first year. Now, we already discussed some engineering clubs like Women in Engineering, but beyond engineering, there are about 400 clubs which you can join to explore your interests and make new friends. For instance, I took advantage of this. I joined the rowing team and got to row for the very first time. And I got to even compete at regattas. That was amazing. Now, so there are really abundant opportunities for you to explore on campus, and believe it or not, they are really just all yours to take advantage of. In the spirit of taking advantage of opportunities, why don't we look at the different, like, how do I put this? If you are interested in more than just one engineering program, or even beyond engineering, you could take a dual degree or something with less commitment, such as a minor degree. And on here, you can see we've mentioned the different opportunities that are available at the two campuses, the Vancouver and Okanagan campus. Now, Erin and Marie will talk about this later on in the presentation. Now, while studying, you also have the opportunity to gain work experience through our core program, which you can apply to at the beginning of your second or third year. And through the core program, for me personally, I got to explore pharmaceuticals. I worked with Sanofi, which is Canada's largest vaccine manufacturer. Oh, yes, vaccine manufacturer. And I got to conduct vaccine research. I also got to explore the world of clean energy, which is helping us address climate change. As such, co-op is a great way to find out what you like and dislike. Now, at UBC, we also, so Yes, so beyond even, like if you decide to focus on the core degree requirements, that is more than enough. From the very start, you're exposed to hands-on design projects where you work in teams with other first-year students. Now, engineering students typically find common ground on these projects, which have become almost like a tradition now. So for instance, when I went through engineering several years ago, or no, engineering first year, I'm still a student, but that was some time ago when I was in first year. And I got to build a chair that was made entirely out of cardboard, but it could hold my weight. And I got to do this with my peers as our first project. As our second project, we got to design an autonomous claw, which you can see here. And essentially, you can pick up objects and it's all automated. Beyond your first year, you still go on to get hands-on experience. For instance, if you look below, we have students competing at a robotics competition with robots they made entirely by themselves. And even beyond like the different projects you do, in your final year, you get to work with your peers and with industry partners on real life solutions, on real life problems for real life solutions. So in fact, a lot of those projects some of those projects even turn into startup companies. And if you know anything about like startups, you will see that it's all about your research. You basically have an idea and you go on to see if that idea is if it can be proven, and then you can form something out of it. So that's basically research. And UBC offers great opportunities for students to be involved in research. So for instance, there are many professors at UBC working on impactful projects. We have at the top right, Dr. Moseni, who is interested, whose research enabled the BC Indigenous community to access clean water for the very first time. Now, going into research, you also have the opportunity to present your research and be able to essentially showcase your work to your peers, family, even, I don't know, external visitors who may just have a job offer waiting for you. Now, if anything I mentioned so far seems interesting to you or excited you in any way, I'm sure you'd finally like to know how you can join UBC. And Maria and Erin are here to satisfy that curiosity.
Thanks, Kenna. So now that Kenna has given you a really great picture of what you can do in engineering and some of the great alumni stories from UBC, we'd like to talk to you guys about the admission requirements. So the first thing to consider is that there are two campuses that you can take engineering at. There's both Okanagan campus and the Vancouver campus. So both of these campuses offer the same thing academically. But what the biggest question we get a lot from students is, how do I choose which campus? So we really ask students to think about the student experience they would like to have when they come and do their degree. So at the Vancouver campus, it's a bigger campus, so it's more of that big city feel. And then at the Okanagan campus, since it's smaller, it's more of a tight-knit community feel. But I'm sure Kenna would have lots of great experience to share about UBC Vancouver if you guys have any other specific questions about that campus, and I'd be happy to share about the Okanagan campus. So there's several different ways that you can be admitted into engineering. So there's the direct entry route where you just apply to UBC for either campus. You can go through the university transfer routes. So there's the engineering transfer programs, as well as you can just apply to transfer from another university or institution. And there's also specific pathways for Indigenous students, such as the Aboriginal admission policy and the Aboriginal transfer partnership with Langara. So now I would like to talk to you about the specific requirements for the UBC Okanagan campus. So there are both general and degree specific requirements. So for under the general requirements, we really want students to take at least 6 grade 12 level courses. And what you really want to think about is the breadth, rigor, and relevancy of those courses that you're taking, because you want to make sure that they do relate into the field you're going into, but they also are giving you a broad range of experience, because we do want well-rounded engineers. And then for degree-specific required courses, they're listed here on this slide. So you're going to need English 12, Pre-Calculus 12, Chemistry 12, and Physics 12. So a really important thing to remember is actually the dates to apply to UBC. So the first deadline is December 1st. So this is the deadline for first round offers. And it's also the deadline where you're considered for some automatic scholarships. The final deadline is January 15th. So if you're not able to apply from December 1st, no worries, you still have until January 15th. And the last thing I just want to mention on this slide is that we do get a lot of questions about scholarships. So we have shown here some of the merit-based and financial needs scholarships that are offered, but there are lots of other scholarships out there. So I highly recommend you do some research, because if you get them, free money, which is awesome. So now I'm going to pass it over to Erin to talk about the Vancouver campus admissions.
Perfect. Thanks, Marie. So at the Vancouver campus, the general requirements that you'll see are the same. The degree-specific requirements are a little bit different at the Vancouver campus from the Okanagan campus. So you'll see that we actually look at your grade 11 results, and we're specifically looking for English 11, a language at the grade 11 level. So that's a language other than English, like French or Japanese or whatever language your school offers if you're in BC. I will note that the last slide in this slide is all based off of BC courses. So if anyone is joining us from outside of BC, you'll be able to find your province's specific courses that are required on yu.ubc.ca, and we'll put that website up at the end as well. At the grade 12 level for the Vancouver campus, we're also looking for English 12, pre-calculus 12, chemistry 12, and physics 12. Now you'll notice that there is a star next to those last two. Students can be admitted with only one of those two options, while we highly recommend having both available to be admitted to engineering. If you've only been able to take one of those courses, you can still be considered for admission to engineering at the Vancouver campus. Now, Marie mentioned a little bit about that free money already, or those scholarships available to you. So those are great options. I will note that the merit-based scholarships are generally for automatic consideration. So students need to have applied by December 1st in most cases if you are a Canadian student. If you're an international student, there are a few other deadlines that you can check out, again, on yu.ubc.ca. For the financial need-based scholarships, those will require an additional application. So there's two main financial need-based scholarships that we have for Canadian students coming into UBC from high school. One of those is the Centennial Scholars Award that are open to any high school student entering to apply to. The Beyond Tomorrow Scholars Award is specifically for Black Canadian students. So that is also an award that you can apply for if you are in need of financial assistance. All right, so those are the required courses that are needed to get into engineering at either campus. Now, even though those are the required courses, that's not necessarily exactly how we are going to assess you for admission. So that's what I'm going to go through next. The required courses are kind of more of a check. Do you have those required courses? That's what we're looking for. But how we actually assess you for admission is essentially what's listed on this slide here. So we are going to look at your personal profile. Now, students entering from high school will be required to answer a few questions on the application. That component is called your personal profile. Really what we're looking for here is for students to be really introspective and reflective on your experiences that you've been a part of outside of the classroom throughout your high school years. So not just listing what you've done, maybe you've volunteered, maybe you've worked, maybe you've been on sports teams, those are all great things, but really thinking more about how have those experiences impacted who you are as a student? How have they changed the way you think about your future? Anything along those lines is what we're really looking for in that personal profile. We're also going to look at your overall academic average. That's where we are going to look at all grade 11 and grade 12 academic courses that you've completed. And that will be what counts as your overall academic average. So when I say academic courses, what I mean are courses that would be related to any of your kind of main subjects, so social studies, English, things like that. Courses that have kind of module-based, like phys ed, or some of your options might not be considered academic, but you'll provide us your whole transcript and UBC will be able to determine which of those courses are for sure academic or not. As I mentioned, courses like phys ed, maybe if you're in sports medicine or things like that, those ones would generally be more module based and wouldn't be considered as part of those academic courses. We're also going to look at that core academic average. So that is going to be all of your grade 11 and grade 12 courses that are related to English, math, and science. So those three components are really what we're looking at to assess you for admission, and that's what will count towards looking at you for admission to whatever programs you are applying to. All right, I'll pass it back to Marie for a couple more slides.
Thanks, Erin. So now we've gone through basically all of the admission sort of requirements and steps. So now we'd like to share with you a little bit more information about the programs that are offered at both of our campuses. So at the UBC Okanagan campus, there are 4 engineering specializations or programs. There's civil, electrical, manufacturing, and mechanical engineering. At the UBC Okanagan campus, there are no caps on these programs. So what that means is that students are guaranteed a seat in their specialization of choice. As previously mentioned, there were 2 minors that are also offered at the UBC Okanagan campus, and that's a minor in management and a minor in computer science. And we also offer 3 options, which are biomedical, mechatronics, and resilient infrastructure management. And what an option is pretty much a predetermined suite of courses that students take in their 4th year. And now I'm going to pass over to Erin to talk to you about the Vancouver campus.
Perfect. So at the Vancouver campus, there are 14 programs available. So all 4 of those that Marie just mentioned, plus 10 additional programs. So lots of things to explore for sure at the Vancouver campus. One of the main differences is going to be that these programs are competitive, and it's a competitive placement process that you'll go through essentially at the end of your 1st year of UBC Engineering. What is required is students will rank their top choice programs, and students will be assessed based on their 1st year GPA of which program they're eligible for. Now, this sounds like a complicated process, but you'll be given so much more information in your 1st year classes. We have 2 classes at the Vancouver campus called AppSci 100 and AppSci 101, where they'll walk you through the 2nd year placement process. You'll get to learn about all of these different programs, so you have a really good idea of which programs you'll be entering in 2nd year. We also have some minors available. There's 5 different minors available at the Vancouver campus. There's a minor in commerce, entrepreneurship, art, science, and honors math, as well as a dual degree in arts. For any of those minors or the dual degree, those are not things that you would begin in 1st year. You would apply into those in your later years of university. And so you still get a lot of chance in that foundational 1st year to really learn more about what all of those programs are about and decide how you're going to build out the rest of your degree with some of those other amazing options that Kenna mentioned earlier. So that's it for most of our presentation. Before we let you go, I want you to imagine what a world without engineers would look like. So if you're thinking about that, that would mean no buildings, no bridges, no cell phones, no life-saving devices, no medicine to heal us, no transportation. Life is pretty good right now in this moment, but engineers work every day to make our lives better than what they are right now. Engineers improve our environment, our technology, and our medicine. They build solutions to solve our problems and make the world a better place. So if you are thinking that you are interested in working as part of a team to solve problems of the world, then engineering might make a great career choice for you. One of the ways that you can find out even more after today is to attend either our virtual open house or our on-campus open house coming up in November. Our virtual open house will include both the Vancouver and Okanagan campus programs, so you can meet with each of our programs that we listed here today, ask them any questions that you have, find out more about what they're all about, as well as hear more from current students and learn even more about the actual application process. The on-campus open house is available to attend at either the Okanagan campus or the Vancouver campus. Both are happening on November 20th, so you're welcome to join us at either campus. If you're interested in coming, please go to engineering.ubc.ca/open house to sign up for either of those options. All right, so that's it for our presentation. There are Tons of resources listed on the slide here that you can check out. One of them is called Engineering Stories. It's a YouTube channel. I highly recommend you check it out. We just posted our first video this past weekend for this year, and it gives you a great opportunity to learn more about the student experience and to learn more about what student life is like in engineering. So I highly thank you all so much for joining us. A huge thank you to Marie and Kenna for joining us this evening. And please let us know if you have any questions. You're welcome to send us an email.